Thank you for listening to our production of Talking Beyond Trauma. This discussion is made available by the South Southwest Mental Health Technology Transfer Center, or MHTTC, under a cooperative agreement funded by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, also known as SAMHSA. The MHTTC's goal is to provide free training, present best practices, and to provide ongoing support and consultation to professionals that serve individuals with mental health challenges. The South Southwest MHTTC is a project of the Texas Institute for Excellence in Mental Health, housed at the Steve Hicks School of Social Work at the University of Texas at Austin. The South Southwest region, also known as Region 6, covers the states of Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arkansas, Louisiana, and our tribal communities. The South Southwest MHTTC is a part of a nationwide network of providers. The MHTTC network uses affirming, respectful, recovery-oriented language in all programs, products, and activities. Today's presentation was prepared for the MHTTC network. The opinions expressed in this presentation are the views of our speakers and do not reflect the official position of the Department of Health and Human Services or SAMHSA. If you'd like more information about this and other MHTTC products in the South Southwest region, you can find a link in the episode description. This session was pre-recorded.
Previously on Talking Beyond Trauma.
Some days it rains, some days it shines. But every time it rains, we want to just keep our raincoats on because we hate getting drenched. The art of life is to track the weather and wear the right clothes in the right weather. Survival ways of thinking might be the right way to be because it's raining in that organization. For me, trauma-informed doesn't mean that you don't operate from survival brain. It means that you know when to operate from survival brain and when to operate from presence.
You have to practice that.
It's a practice. It doesn't just take practice, it's a practice, ongoing.
It is a practice. Not just something we practice. It is a practice in itself. These words resonate with me. I don't believe I thought of trauma-informed work this way before. A series of skills? Sure. A headset? Definitely. And then there's the good old value of just doing the right thing by folks. But a practice? A practice is the way we bring our values to life. It's consistent. It's purposeful. It embodies our work. Dr. Hom assured us we need mindful presence and honest reflections of what we feel to begin working on our individual and collective practice of trauma-informed work. For me, that includes sheathing and looking down at my trusted managerial sword, laying it on the ground, then taking off my armor. And that's real talk. If we are being honest with ourselves, this practice can transcend our work lives and actually begin to impact our daily interactions with all people, not just the ones at work. If we're willing to give it a try, that is. Can being trauma-informed influence your practice? Hello, I'm Mordecai Dixon. Welcome back to Talking Beyond Trauma. This is episode 3. We're wrapping up our first conversation with Dr. Jacob Hom, the director of the Center for Child Trauma and Resilience and clinical assistant professor of psychiatry at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. In episode 2, Dr. Hom and I were talking about the binaries, to be or not to be trauma-informed, survival brain or mindful presence, wear the raincoat or don't. Well, as we know, the weather cannot always be so easily pinned down. Let's get right back into the conversation with Dr. Hom as we break out of these binaries and embrace their complexities.
I think that some folks believe that this is a binary because we were taught in a managerial process that's a binary. So I'm either trauma-informed or I'm not. It's not a practice for some folks. For some folks, this is an either-or proposition. The way it's presented in our policies, the way it's presented to our consumers when they hit the front door and see our big signs, and we get back into this surviving constantly because we're either trauma informed or we're not. It's not, we're building a practice of trauma informed care that it may be completely reigning in here now. Where we're going strategically is something very different. A place where you all feel that you can bring your vulnerabilities to this table, be seen as whole, and be safe in doing so. So I do these sessions, and I've been fascinated with the impact of trauma on engagement, because that young person that had to go to that incarcerated setting, or the person that grew up in a homeless setting, or had some other travesty in their life, has to eventually go to work in this society. The manager is going to potentially work with that person and that complex story, as well as many others. We don't have the freedom to kind of other another department or other another function. It has to start with us. The practice becomes ubiquitous because it starts with me. True statement?
Yeah. I'm in a mystical place in my life where I'm not sure there is any distinction between you and me.
Mm-hmm.
And the practice has to always, the more I practice my own capacity for clarity, awareness, compassion for myself,
Mm-hmm.
it's a muscle that I can use freely for the other. I need to keep returning it to myself, and it has to be something that just moves freely to whatever version of me or you that needs it.
In the moment.
Yeah.
Very situational.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's learning so that you have no concepts and no buzzwords and no lingo, no strategy, so that you're just in the moment with an open heart. All your techniques are like merged into your reflexes. That's the practice.
Can that practice shift the sand, so to speak, of a pre-existing culture?
I've done this before, where you walk into an organization that's fully in survival brain, and the leadership is in survival brain, and leadership could be threatening. You just create one small pocket of safety. Two people who like go to the side and say like, hey, I need to talk something out with you. Can you be present with me? And do the same. And then people feel that, and they're like, hey, what are you guys doing over there? It feels good over there. I get a bit of that.
Want more of those moments, more of those moments. Exactly. I'm poking at some of these issues quite purposefully in some cases, only because sometimes I hear things that are so deflated. This is never going to change. These folks don't care. They've made it clear they don't care. And unfair almost to the leaders in some regards. Like,
yeah, they've become othered. They're now the enemy.
They're getting othered right now, right? And that mood contagion takes over, and that's just so toxic in the end.
Yeah.
That it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everybody leaves.
Oh, yeah.
People are walking out in droves. We've got teachers, nurses, officers of the law, just about any industry that you can pick, who are just walking off the job. I don't think that has anything to do with burnout, frankly.
Yeah.
Because they're not leaving their professions. They don't even want to leave their professions. They just want to leave this building right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen it as well, where the old timers or the hard timers are the ones who stay, and everyone that comes in to try to lead them just burns out or gets chewed up, and
it gets digested in some other kind of way, and
it's a revolving door.
Understood.
Yeah.
I do believe wholeheartedly that we can, pockets at a time, change culture, shift culture. I'm also of the opinion that it's cross-functional. I don't believe in a just. I believe in justice. I don't believe in I'm a just in quotations. I've heard any number of employees say things like, too far up the food chain, I'm just the janitor. I'm just the cook. I'm just whomever. And they don't connect to it at all, which I see as more attachment organizationally. I don't trust you, but I also don't need to attach to you because I've given myself a new safe space.
I also hear that as I'm going to be the just that you just me into.
Yeah, you othered me into this, and therefore I will stay here.
Yeah.
Those functions usually intersect, though. So I need the person at the front door to be feeling safe, secure, feeling value that they have an outlet in me, no matter what my job is, and that I've got their back in the event they need me to have that special conversation.
Yeah, I was at a non-secure detention facility for youth, and I was asking them like what really like can set you off and ruin your day. And they said the lunch lady. Sometimes like with me, she always gives me half a scoop of food and I'm always hungry. And the next guy she'll give like a full scoop.
Just based on disposition.
Yeah.
So we do see that the cross-functional relationship, which does make it harder for a leader to kind of build a culture, that those folks in AP, accounts payable, or quality or training, these jobs that one would say, yeah, I'm not in the operation, therefore I don't touch that. I don't have an influence on that. And those statements are quite erroneous.
I guess the question is, if you have support staff who are disempowered, disconnected, what do you do? Is that what you're saying, or are you just observing that this is a phenomenon that you come across?
I see it as a phenomenon, but I think it's a question of what to do about it. I think that's fair to ask. What is the leader's charge in getting everyone to have this experience? It could be that, all the licensed team, because they work with highly traumatized situations and complex secondary trauma is part of their work, that I focus on that because I know that brings something to them as a human. I would argue that it impacted the receptionist that had to sit in the lobby with that person as well.
Oh my God. Yeah, they make or break the sessions sometimes.
Yeah.
But the way they check a person in can make or break the way that my session's going to go.
There you go. We've all had the experience, and I've asked people just straight away, just think of a time you've got really bad service. What did it look like? What did it sound like? What did it feel like? And folks go on a tear. They could tell you about when they had bad service. And then we comfortably then silo ourselves and say only certain people are responsible for trauma-informed care in this organization.
Or they shove it down the receptionist's throat and say, your job is customer service, so you better do it right or else.
Yeah. Or worse yet, yes.
Yeah.
I do believe that there's this kind of parallel experience. I don't want survival brain leadership to then transfer their fears, their angst, their pressures onto people who may not even fully understand what this means to be trauma informed. I don't know what any of that means. I'm as nice to anybody who comes through the door, not realizing that being nice by our society's label of it really has nothing to do with this. If you're present, being compassionate with self, from what I'm hearing, and willing to share and be vulnerable in a healthy kind of way, you probably have more powerful conversation with this individual than their assigned worker. And I've seen that. I've seen not just the lunch woman example. I've seen the cook that had better relationships with the students we were working with than their assigned case managers and social workers.
Yeah.
How far is too far?
I was just thinking about that. There comes a point where the more trauma work you do, the more oppression you see. And you see how screwed up our society is. And you see that there's economic and racial injustice in this country. And all this trauma-informed stuff makes people have to open up to the pain of that and to acknowledge the pain of that. Sometimes from a place of privilege, sometimes from the place of the person who's experiencing that stuff. Those are really hard conversations to have, and it's going to create a lot of bitterness and a lot of triggered trauma states. I'm not saying that that's too much, but I think that that's where people start to get afraid. They don't know how to handle those situations. They don't want to open that Pandora's box.
I appreciate that. I agree. I think it's the larger and more complex the organization is, the more likely you're going to get that fear response of this will be pandemonium here. We cannot open this box. How do we create safe environments so that those doors don't have to be flung open, slowly cracked, and methodically addressed?
For me, the answer, if we're being consistent with our conversation, would be you slow down even more. You just bring one person in front of you. You do this conversation right with one person. You activate their sense of humanity and presence and equality in that experience. And then you just keep doing that Then I suddenly remember how my own hospital tried to do things like that, town halls or like meetings, and it just became pandemonium.
Yeah.
It always backfired. It just felt like another gimmick trick thing.
So what do we do when we get it wrong? What's the next step to try to get it right? Or is there just really hard time to?
Yeah, it's just hard times.
Mhm.
Some people will forgive, some people will want to punish
Mm.
and destroy. This is the nature of survival reactions. Some people really get triggered and they can't stop and they want to get vindication.
I don't know that we'll solve all of that one, but boy, oh boy,
Mm.
what an interesting dynamic to pay attention to. Even if I'm the leader aspiring to do some things with my team, I'm hearing one person at a time, authentic, safe spaces, being willing to acknowledge that this could potentially go wrong, that we may have some difficult times ahead of us as we try to do some of this. But I'm also hearing that there has to be personal, interpersonal, and some degree of organizational recovery. Some organizations are part and parcel with the historic traumas that occurred. I think of former orphanages that turned into residential facilities for children, that turned into larger scale. We're dating back to the 1800s all the way into modern day. Now there are these organizations that are providing a service, but what's entrenched in their history is a ton of perpetuated depression and what have you. So what role does recovery play in this for all of us?
For me, it always goes back to, can you reclaim your capacity for presence?
Hmm.
And then that starts to become infectious. It's illuminating.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I start to feel overwhelmed by the complexity of things, I go back to the simplicity of doing the one thing right, my own state of mind. And then use that to name the problem from that place of presence and clarity. And then you recruit other people to name the problem with clarity. And then you let the magic unfold. Don't come in with a hard solution, because even the question that you're asking, I just realized, what do you do when things go bad? That how question, that's actually coming from a survival energy.
Yeah. I would think that that's most leaders working in human services, but most leaders, period, in the Americas. Fix it, right? This idea that people, that things, that systems can just be fixed because we will them to be creates a survival energy. I would agree with you 100%. And what I'm hearing you say is to just allow yourself to be present and pay attention to your purpose.
Start there.
You spoke about this. You have a great body of work far beyond this. There's one acronym that stands out for me. It's PAGE. And as I heard you talk about it, I said, oh, that's interesting. And I wonder if I'm oversimplifying it or if there's more complexity here. So can you walk me through that real quickly?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, when there's survival brain energy in the room, what do you do
Mm-hmm.
between two people or like room of people? And then I thought, get on the same page.
Okay.
And PAGE stands for be aligned in purpose. Make sure that you both are trying to accomplish the same thing in this moment. Be attuned to one another. Know how to reach your purpose through the specific goals that you need to reach, I guess. I don't know. That part's hard. And then the E was express things, express emotions. This is the name it part. It doesn't have to be in that order.
Right. No, and now I wouldn't suggest it. What about the G?
I know. The goals were, this is where you can't just sit and contemplate all day long. You have to come up with action plans eventually,
Mm-hmm.
like goals, plans, but that has to come at the very end once you know that your mind is in the right place.
Right.
And then the answer doesn't have to be right either. The answer is just something you try, and you execute the goal or the plan with the same clarity, and then you adapt and you apologize or you celebrate, you ask for forgiveness or whatever. It's all organic.
Yeah, and it's very refreshing to hear. If I speak honestly and candidly, I think we take management to another level when we start considering that there's no perfection. It's all aspirational. There's
Yeah,
no,
it's intention based.
and if we're doing shared purpose, that would be awesome. So to actually get on the same page with somebody, metaphorically and literally, if I have to write things with you or create work product with you, that we all support this is a lot different than you screwed it up. You got it wrong, Mordecai, or he's the reason he made us do this.
And there are competing needs.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of condemning the Aiden skate energy,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a need to, I don't want to make work my entire life. I don't want to work to exhaustion. I want to have fun and like enjoy my life as well. I want to have balance. People need to be able to voice the things that are not as noble or whatever you're trying to pigeonhole me into, like somehow doing some kind of work that's like, I forget what you said in the beginning, trying to like, you're trying to be complimentary, but I heard it as a little bit of a prison. My work is like virtuous or something.
The very last place I want to do is put you in a jail. At the same time, I do believe that there are opportunities that don't get discussed openly because of fear.
Oh yeah, and shame.
Oh yeah, ton of shame, and let's call it what it is. People can lose their jobs behind this.
Yes, exactly.
And we have to be really, really careful that concepts and buzzwords and feel good stuff like self-care. We want you to do self-care, but I live in a fear environment, so I don't want to tell my supervisor that I need a few extra days or I need to take some time for myself, or that I just am not where I need to be at. I'm not in tune right now. I can't be a good caregiver right now.
I love that.
That piece needs to be said out loud and probably screamed from a bunch of rooftops, but not just by Dr. Hom, by a great many people, which is why I've been impressed by what you said and how you said it. More impression than false adulation. You don't need that. I don't need that. I don't think this is ubiquitous yet.
Oh, God, no.
I think that this is considered creative and maybe even considered the right thing to do, and maybe it would be nice to do, and we have to get out of the place of it being a nice to do, or it would be a good thing to do if, and just build this into our organizational practices right from the word go, right from the moment that we select an employee to come into our organization and maintain their engagement through these practices. I sincerely believe that they keep people connected to other people, because endgame is to service people. That means everybody has to get served. One group of people in the room are not the only folks getting served. All of us need to be served. You speak often about service industries.
Well, I was just thinking like the goal is to feel the joy of serving others, because it is incredibly rewarding to serve others.
It is.
And to feel the pleasure of having one's own needs met and seen by other people too.
Sure.
It's this mutual flowing dynamic thing.
I think even in addition to that, because I agree, we have to pay attention to the fact that when I get into the mire with you, I take something in addition to what I brought. Experiencing complex stress means I take some of it with me. I'm experiencing your trauma. And that's what makes it courageous work. That's what makes it selfless in a lot of ways. This idea of I'm working with you.
What I've discovered is that if you change your relationship to bad feelings, to feel another person's trauma isn't the hard part. It can actually be an incredible gift to be able to bear witness to another person's pain and to feel that pain. It's like watching a good movie. I'm not trying to like minimize people's traumas as like good movies, but we are drawn to things that are resonant with authentic human experience, including the sad, hard parts of life.
Sure.
And it's actually invigorating and gives us energy if we do it right. What takes our energy and causes burnout in the way that you're talking about is when we don't know how to bear that with grace, when we fight it, when we have second order suffering and pain on top of the natural suffering that's part of life.
And if I'm in an environment that doesn't support dealing with that reality, I would imagine that only exacerbates it and makes it much worse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have meetings where people just say, I need to I need to debrief about some heavy stuff that I heard today. And I just need people to hear it.
Sure.
And we all just carry a little piece of that together.
I love the idea of debriefing. Used it in suicide intervention practice. Find it to be an incredibly powerful way of allowing both parties to be vulnerable in the moment, the one to give care, the other to be vulnerable in whatever emotion led to the pain, and then a reciprocal experience that occurs that really kind of brings us to where we started, that I can attach and I felt safe with you, that I feel that you attended to me. I can trust the work. I can trust that even though the work is painful, you have me, you have my back. And to watch that occur is the magic for me. I think we have to figure out ways to serve the servants. And debriefing is a powerful way to serve the servants. We don't think that we have time for it. I don't think we have time to not do it. Like you said, life is chock filled with suffering. That's not going away, it seems. And oddly enough, we seem to feel compelled to keep creating more suffering for each other. So there has to be a place for it to go. We can't ask our employees to exclusively just sit with this, figure this out, even using their own techniques to process this out. I think we lose our organizational capacities when we do not allow that process that you just spoke of. Say it out loud. Be okay with it. Fall apart. Do whatever you need to do. It's all good. You're here. You're safe. We got you.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I met this person who had trained or worked for one of my dear friends named Jim Henry. And I said, what's he really like? And the story that they said was, we do weekly trauma intakes, hear the worst stories.
Mm.
And one day I just needed to fall apart. And he took me outside and he just let me cry with him for like an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most memorable experience for that person.
I was always proudest of teams that I worked with that carry those memories, cherish those memories, when you could feel the compassion in the room. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 people. That was a horrible call. You brave through that call, and now it's okay. We got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's almost like the whole idea of this village.
That's the good place.
That's such a great place. And we don't facilitate that.
I'd call that the place of bittersweet poignancy. It's like dark chocolate. It's the best.
It's great stuff. And it's good for you.
Yeah.
These are bittersweet moments that are good for us. The work of doing anything with humans is bittersweet, but it's good for us.
Oh, yeah. I heard my friend Nico Carey, I was listening to him on a YouTube video.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't process my grief. My grief processes me. And it makes me more capable of like being with the divine.
Boy, I want to be him when I grow up.
Yeah.
I think, and I have to have, what engages me, my why, is getting up every morning and knowing that we can influence leaders, that they don't feel that they are not making the impact that they got up this morning to make. I work from the assumption that no one does what we do consciously to do harm. It would be so counterintuitive. That doesn't mean there's not a sociopath amongst us. There's always going to be someone that scares us, hurts us, betrays our trust. That's sad, but I also go back at this point in my life that those people too, something really went south.
Yeah. So it's not just the sociopath. It's more the person who's lost in survival, who can only see an us versus them. They're the ones who are more capable of hurting the other because the other person's humanity is taken.
I know for a fact if we promote these experiences that, as you said before, although they're not tangible, because it doesn't feel like allowing Dr. Hahn to cry for an hour is the essence of what we're supposed to be doing. That is the essence of what we're supposed to be doing. You know, if we could teach that part is more important than anything we could write, anything that we could say, any buzzword we created this week, we could probably get a lot of stuff done with folks who are trying to recover, heal.
I would temper that by saying it's to add that to the earnest, urgent, striving, protect, So when the need to cry is there, that there's space for it. But then when it's not there, then you go back to grinding and trying to save people. And
yeah, you got to do the work.
Yeah.
The work is not going away. But I love that we've had a conversation about creating the space that is still the work.
Oh, yes.
That's still the work
That's the whole of the work.
Exactly. And if we don't create that space, we are literally sending loaded weapons into these interventions in some cases.
Yeah, we're recapitulating survival brain.
Yes. Teachers slapping students. You hear these horror stories about people of all professions, folks who would never consider to be acting out. Now I know what it is. Once upon a time, I would just said, "Oh, they're out. Something else is wrong with them. They need to get fired." And now I'm like, "Oh no, this person they were hurting bad. Mm-hmm. They were in a lot of fear, and they were in a lot of survival. And someone just said the wrong thing at 30,000 feet, and this flight attendant went off."
All too human is what I always say.
All too human. All too human. Closing thoughts. I thought that this was a pretty decent conversation today. What did you think?
I don't know. I don't have opinion until I know how it lands.
Yeah.
So I'm really eager to see if this is helpful to someone, and I hope that someone leaves a comment. Someone says how it worked for them, how it changed their practice.
We want voice and choice. We can't preach this stuff and then not get people's voices involved in it. So we'll do what works for the folks that are listening to it. It's been my experience, though, that when folks are authentically having these conversations, it lands. When you don't put on airs, when you're allowing yourself to be human and get it wrong and disagree and do all the things, we're in some respects modeling the thing that we're promoting. And so I've done some growing today. I've picked up some things that landed with me, even the things about myself, so I can't imagine that there's no value added at all in this last 2-hour conversation.
For me, I end with, I started by saying that I'm trying to envision one leader that needs to hear what we're about to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the way that this conversation ends for me is that I'm sending that person this conversation now.
Yeah.
And I'm eager to hear what they have to say in response.
Sure.
So I'm in a state of suspension and hope that we reach them and help them to maybe grieve, soften a little bit in their own suffering, in their own capacity to hold themselves lightly and tenderly and hold the rest of their organization in the same way.
Yes. I appreciate you so much. It's been wonderful to do this, and I'm looking forward to our second session.
Yeah, me too.
We'll continue to push the needle.
Great. Can't wait.
You heard correctly. There is a whole second session that we've recorded with Dr. Ham that we haven't even scratched the surface of yet. Please let us know what you thought about this first batch of episodes, or if there are any other topics you'd like us to explore in the future. Our goal is to create real conversations about complex issues that enhance your practice in the most human ways possible, and we need your voice to do it. Coming up next on Talking Beyond Trauma, we break into our second session with Dr. Jacob Ham. We discuss recovery, authenticity, sustainability, and ways that leaders can help foster connections. Please join us. I want to thank you for listening to our production of Talking Beyond Trauma. We appreciate your participation and hope this discussion helps your journey. If you'd like more information about this and other MHTTC products in the South-Southwest region, check out the link in the description. No production of this size and scope is accomplished without a great team. Heartfelt thanks to our guest, Dr. Jacob Ham, for his willingness, insight, and guidance for leaders. The exchange was value-added and impactful. Special thanks to our fantastic colleagues at Make Every Media for producing this series. Thanks to our MHTTC leaders, Jennifer Baran-Prall, Dr. Molly Lopez, Dr. Stacey Manser for supporting this idea and bringing this product to life. Thanks to Felicia Benson, our colleague at the National Coordinating Office, for her support and technical guidance on the project. Thanks to the MHTTC administrative team, Kendall Jones and Grace Cruse, for web-based support and title design of the series. Special thanks to Dembowski and Zatara Lumen for administrative support throughout the project. And finally, much appreciation to Scooter Holiday for our theme music. This has been Talking Beyond Trauma. I am Mordecai Dixon. It is my pleasure to serve. Be well.